In the town of Surat in India, there was a coffee house where travelers from all over the world would come to meet and talk and discuss life's big questions. One day, a learned Persian theologian visited. He had spent his life studying God, but he had thought and read and written so much that he had stopped believing in the existence of God. Settling himself down in the coffee house, he asked his servant, "Tell me, do you believe there is a God?" "Of course," said the servant, immediately drawing from his pocket a small carved wooden idol. "This is the God who has cared for me since the day of my birth." Others in the coffee house overheard this conversation. One of them, a holy man from India, said, "You fool! How is it possible to believe that God can be carried in a man's pocket? There is one God, Brahma." A Jewish broker replied, "No, the true God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who protects his chosen people, the Israelites." An Italian missionary interrupted them. "What you are saying is untrue. God calls all who wish to be saved to the Catholic Church of Rome." But a Protestant minister exclaimed, "How can you say that salvation belongs to your faith? All who serve God according to the gospel will be saved." Then a Turk, who was a Muslim, said, "Your belief in Christianity is vain. It was superseded 12,000 years ago by the true faith, that of Mohammed." And so they all argued about the nature of God. Everyone except for a young man from China, a student of Confucius, who sat quietly in one corner. Eventually, the group asked him, "Tell us your opinion of the true God." The student thought a while, then spoke. "I will tell you a story. I came here on an English steamer, which has traveled around the world. We stopped here to collect fresh water. Yesterday, we met a man. He had been fascinated by the sun, this man, and he had spent so long gazing into it that he had gone blind. He could no longer see the sun, and he was convinced it no longer existed. Now, with this blind man came a servant who, after placing his master underneath a coconut tree, picked up a coconut and started to carve it away in order to make a nightlight. The blind man sighed and said, "See how dark it is? Yet people say there is a sun. But if so, what is it?" "I don't know what the sun is," said the servant, "but I know what light is. Here, I have made this nightlight, by which I can find anything I want in the darkness. This is my sun." A lame man sitting nearby them heard these words and laughed. "You evidently have been blind all your life, not to know what the sun is. The sun is a great ball of fire, which rises every morning out of the sea and goes down among the mountains on our island each evening. We have all seen this, and if you had your sight, you would have seen it too." A fisherman said, "It is plain that you have never been beyond your own island. If you had been out there in the fishing boat, you would know what the sun is. The sun is a ball of fire that rises from the ocean each morning and sets again in the sea each night. I see this every day with my very own eyes, so I know it's true." An English sailor interrupted him. The sun rises nowhere and sets nowhere. It is always moving around. The earth, always moving around the earth. He picked up a stick and drew circles in the sand, but he couldn't explain it as clearly as he wanted. And pointing to the ship's navigator, he said, "This man knows. He can explain it more properly." The navigator said, "You are all misleading one another. The sun does not go around the earth, but the earth goes around the sun. The sun does not shine for one mountain, one island, one sea, or even one earth alone, but for other planets as well. So, the student said, as with the sun, so it is with God. Each person wants a special God of their own, but the better a person understands God, the more like God they will become, imitating God's goodness, mercy, and love. Therefore, let those who see the sun's whole light filling the world refrain from blaming or despising those who in their own idols see only one ray of that very same light. Let them not despise even the unbeliever who is blind and cannot see at all." So spoke the student of Confucius, and all who were present in the coffee house were silent and disputed no more as to whose faith was the best. And now we have some time for some wondering questions. So I'm wondering what you think a Unitarian Universalist might have said if he or she were in that coffee house in Surat. Right. So I wonder what you thought of that story and what you think about the comparison to the sun. When I first read that story, it reminded me that during the Holocaust, Jews were taunted about where's your God now type of thing. And one of the things they would say was, I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I wonder what you think God is or isn't. I said this story was written by Leo Tolstoy, and he's a very famous writer. He was born in 1828, died I think in 1910. So he lived, between 100 and 200 years ago. I wonder if you think 100 or 200 years from now, people are still going to be arguing about what the true God is, or if there's a God. That's all for today. See you next time.